Hi friends! I am doing our very last YouTube video before the test, so pay close attention, and if you have questions tomorrow, you can always ask me. All right, I wanted to start by showing you these decimal models. Now let's not get overwhelmed. Before we do anything, even before we read the problem, what we're going to do is we're going to decide what the decimal number is for each and every one. Okay, if this is in the hundredths, because we can see there's 100 pieces, we know it's in the hundredths place. 0 point, we're going to have a tenths and a hundredths. So let's see. 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. We have 45 hundredths in this model. Next, this is divided, it's very important you pay attention, it's divided into tenths. I see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tenths have been shaded. Next one is now hundredths. There's no whole numbers, so let's make ourselves two place values for hundredths. I see 10, 20, 30, 31, 31 hundredths. And last but not least, this is also in the hundredths place with no whole numbers, so 0, decimal, and then two place values for the tenths and the hundredths. Let's count. 10, 20. Okay, now that we've done this, we're ready to read. It says, 4 students are making their very own garden. The model represents the amount each student has finished. Which comparison below correctly compares the two greatest amounts? We're looking for the two biggest numbers, the two biggest models, whichever ones those are. Okay, if we're looking for the two greatest amounts, I need to be able to easily compare these numbers. And you know what I don't like, guys? I do not enjoy that this 9 is in the tenths place and everything else is in the hundredths place. If you remember what I taught you, you'll remember that I said if it's not in the hundredths place, you can add an extra 0 and then it'll show you 9 tenths is actually the same thing as 90 hundredths. Pretty cool. And now they're all the same. They're all in the hundredths place. Let me just erase that because I don't want it to be distracting. Okay, let's look very closely at A. A says 45 hundredths, or Allison's garden, is less than, because it's only got the 1 dot here and it has 2 dots here, is less than 90 hundredths, or David's garden. Let's line them up. Is 45 hundredths less than 90 hundredths? My ones, tens, hundreds. 0 and 0 are the same. That doesn't help me. But 4 and 9, the 4 is smaller than the 9. The 4 tenths is smaller than 9 tenths. So 4 tenths, or 45 hundredths, is truly smaller than 90 hundredths. Another thing, so that's correct. What they wrote down, it is true. That's correct, that 45 hundredths is less than 90 hundredths. But the question is asking for the two greatest amounts. We need to determine, did Allison and David, have they finished the most? Well, let's look. I see 45, 90, then I see 31 hundredths and 20 hundredths. Are 45 and 90 the biggest numbers? They are. And is 45 hundredths less than 90 hundredths? It is. So we can know that A is the correct answer because it was looking for the two greatest amounts, but has to be correctly compared. That 45 hundredths, even though Allison had a big garden compared to these other guys. She wasn't as big as David's garden. She hadn't completed as much. David has almost finished his garden. He has 90 hundredths. But notice this, my friends. Here's something they might try to do to trick you. If you're not careful on the test, do you see how they only gave it a 9? And you know what some kids are going to think? 45 is bigger than 9. It's way bigger. That can't be right. They wrote the sign wrong. The sign should be turned this direction with both of the dots this way. But don't you dare let them confuse you once you see once you see the model. Doesn't David, it just looks like David's done way more than Allison, even by how much has been shaded. That's why I tell you guys to add the 0 at the end. So now it's 90 hundredths. And 90 hundredths is truly bigger than 45 hundredths. Or, like the problem says, 45 hundredths is less than 90 hundredths. I'm going to include the secret word. The secret word is kindness, like kindness for this week that we're talking about for character. So even if you've already given me a secret word, you get to enter another secret word and you might really get your name drawn. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great night and good luck with the test on Thursday.